Jason, let's get a divorce. Inside the cafe, Zoe kept her head low, forcing a shaky tone. My hand stayed steady around my latte. I took a slow sip and said one single word. Fine. She shot her head up fast, eyes wide with shock. Have you been wanting to leave me this whole time? You said your company went bankrupt, didn't you? I stared straight at her. 3 days later, outside the Civil Affairs office, Zoe grabbed the divorce certificate and hopped straight into her first love's Mercedes without glancing back once. I watched the car speed off and dialed my best friend. We're officially done. That woman's absolutely ruthless. She faked bankruptcy just to run off with that hard guy. Sean yelled, furious. A cold smirk tugged my lips. Let her enjoy her little victory for a while longer. Chapter 1. Jason, let's get a divorce. Zoe sat across from me in the cafe booth, head hung low, voice deliberately trembling, eyes glistening red like a scared deer. My grip on my latte never wavered. I brought the cup to my lips and sipped the hot drink. It burned my throat, but that sting was nothing next to the cold emptiness spreading through my chest. Fine. Only one word, clear and sharp. Zoe's head snapped up. Her pretty almond eyes flooded with shock. She never expected me to agree so easily. All the lines she rehearsed, stuff like I don't want to drag you down and married couples split when disaster hits, got stuck in her throat. She couldn't utter a single sentence. I watched her face shift non-stop, shock, suspicion, then a tiny, hidden flicker of joy. Only bitter mockery filled my heart. We've been married 6 years. I once thought I knew her like the lines on my own palm. But her terrible performance right now was worse than a cheap community theater actor's act. Jason, did you plan to divorce me a long time ago? She tested the waters, fishing for hurt resentment from me to justify her own choice. I set my coffee mug down. The bottom clinked loud against the tabletop. You said your business collapsed, right? I locked eyes with her, speaking slow and clear. I don't want to drag you down. I threw her own unspoken lines right back at her. Her face stiffened instantly, then she plastered a fake grateful look over it. Jason, you're too kind. I'm the one who's wronged you. Tears rolled down her cheeks right after, dripping onto the smooth tabletop, crystal clear. A year ago, I would have panicked and pulled her tight in my arms, promising I'd fix every problem for her. Now I just sat and watched, like I was watching a one-person play that had nothing to do with me. 3 days later, the sunlight outside the Civil Affairs office was blinding. We picked up our dark green divorce certificates. 6 years of marriage ended just like that. When we stepped outside, Zoe let out a huge relieved breath. She looked nothing like a woman who'd lost her marriage and business. She didn't even put on sunglasses to hide her grin, letting her joy show plain in the sun. Jason, thanks for being so understanding. She turned and smiled at me, bright yet stabbing to look at. Let's both live our own happy lives from now on. Yeah. I nodded, pulled a bank card out of my pocket and handed it to her. There's some cash left on this. Take it for emergencies. She froze, staring at the card with complicated eyes. For a split second, I almost thought she'd show even a hint of guilt. She didn't. After a short pause, she reached out and grabbed it, clutching it tight in her palm. Thank you, Jason. You've always been such a good man. A good man? I laughed silently to myself. Sure. A disposable good man she could toss aside whenever she wanted. She turned and walked straight toward the opposite side of the road without a single backward glance. A black Mercedes GLE waited there. The window rolled down, revealing a man wearing sunglasses in the driver's seat. I knew him well. Howard Joe, Zoe's college first love. Over the past year, he popped up in our lives nonstop under the excuse of being an old classmate. Zoe pulled open the passenger door and climbed inside. She never looked back at me once. The car sped away, kicking up dust, rushing off toward what she thought was a brand new perfect future. I stood there until the car vanished around the corner, then slowly lowered my gaze. I pulled out my phone and dialed a familiar number. Hey, Sean. Jason, how'd it go? My best friend Sean's voice buzzed through the line, full of worry. It's over. My tone stayed flat and calm. That woman's insane. Sean shouted, furious. She straight up lied about her company going bankrupt, all to run off with that Howard creep. I tilted my head up to stare at the clear blue sky and smiled faintly. No rush. Let her celebrate for a little longer. Our marriage used to be the envy of every friend we had. I worked as a lead tech engineer at a tech startup, pulling in steady, high pay. Zoe ran a well-known PR firm of her own. Smart, beautiful, the textbook definition of a successful city woman. We met at an industry summit. I fell for her the second I laid eyes on her, chased her for a full year, and finally won her over. The first years of marriage were sweeter than aged honey. I knew she prioritized her career, so I took care of most housework, cooking all her favorite meals every single day. When her firm hit a cash flow crisis, I didn't hesitate. I emptied all my savings and sold a small apartment I owned before marriage, gathering $680,000 to bail her company out. Back then, she clung to me, crying happy tears. Jason, you're my whole world. I'll never leave you, not ever. I could still hear that promise ringing in my ears. But people's hearts change faster than you can flip a page. Everything fell apart the year Howard moved back to the country. Howard was Zoe's college boyfriend. They split years prior because he left to study overseas. Years later, he returned as a high-flying corporate VP for a multinational group. They reconnected at a class reunion. From that day on, the name Howard Joe popped up in our house every single day. Jason, you have no idea how successful Howard is now he's a VP. Jason, Howard treated all our old classmates to dinner at a luxury downtown restaurant last night. Each person spent over $3,000. He's so generous. Jason, Howard said he's never forgotten me all these years. Isn't that ridiculous? She rambled on about him non-stop, pretending to share daily stories while clearly bragging non-stop. At first, I didn't take it too seriously. I just laughed and warned her gently. He's just an old classmate. I'm your husband, remember that? She always playfully swapped my arm. I know that. Are you jealous? Looking back now, she'd already been laying the groundwork for her betrayal back then. Half a year ago, something finally made me suspicious. $420,000 suddenly vanished from our joint bank account. I asked her where the money went. She stammered, saying a company project failed, and she hid it from me to avoid worrying me. I chose to believe her at the time. But not long after, Sean told me Howard had just bought a limited edition Maserati worth exactly $420,000. Sean warned me right away. Jason, you're way too trusting. That's way too much of a coincidence. I told him it couldn't be true, but a seed of doubt planted itself deep in my heart. After that, I started paying close attention to Zoe's behavior. She changed her phone password, snuck out to the balcony every time she took a call, making sure I couldn't see her screen. She came home later and later each night, sometimes carrying the scent of a men's cologne I'd never owned. Her business trips grew more frequent. She claimed she was meeting important clients, yet she never posted a single work-related photo on her social media. The worst day of all was when my mom got rushed to the hospital. My mom suffers from high blood pressure. She suddenly suffered a cerebral hemorrhage, her condition critical. I panicked and called Zoe immediately. The phone rang forever before she picked up. Loud party noise blared in the background, sounding like a karaoke bar or upscale club. Zoe, Mom's in the hospital, she's really sick. Can you come home right now? I begged quietly. Silence stretched on the line for a few seconds, then her annoyed voice cut through. She's in the hospital. Just leave it to the doctors. I'm locked in a huge client meeting. I can't step away. But moms. Enough. It's just high blood pressure. She's not gonna die. She snapped and cut me off. I'll swing by to see her tomorrow once I'm done with work. Click. She hung up straight away. I gripped the cold phone standing in the noisy hospital hallway, every drop of blood in my body turning icy. She's not gonna die. Those 5 words stabbed my heart like 4 cold steel needles. This woman who acted so obedient around my mom, calling her mom more affectionately than I did, turned out to be this cold and heartless. I found out later she wasn't in any client meeting that night at all. She partied at the city's most exclusive private club with Hart and a group of friends, celebrating his big corporate project win. A classmate posted party photos online. In every shot, Zoe wore a dazzling red dress, leaning tight against Hart, grinning from ear to ear. Part in the background was the white Porsche I'd bought her as a gift, now her right to run off to another man. My heart died completely that night. But I said nothing. I quietly started gathering all the proof I needed. Sean works as a private investigator, and he helped me a ton with this. Photos of Zoe and Howard checking into hotels, videos of them shopping together intimately, fake company financial statements they forged to transfer assets. Every piece of evidence was a sharp knife, carving up our 6 years of shared feelings to shreds. Staring at those ugly images, I felt shockingly calm. No rage, no sorrow, only numb relief that everything had finally come to light. I realized some people's hearts can never be warmed, no matter how much you give them. All my unconditional love and devotion meant less to her than a random expensive gift from another man. So when she brought up the fake bankruptcy divorce, I didn't hesitate for a second. I even thanked her. She handed me the perfect excuse to cut everything off cleanly. Watching her drive off with Hart, my cold smirk widened. Did she think this was the end? No, Zoe. This is only the start. The custom-made game I set up just for her has officially begun. Chapter R. Life after the divorce stayed shockingly peaceful. I moved out of the house once full of sweet memories, now only filled cold reminders. Before I left, I cleaned the whole place top to bottom. I packed every couple trinket she bought, one by one. I lit her favorite scented candle, then blew it out, leaving only a faint leftover scent floating in the air. I wasn't clinging to the past. I was just holding a formal goodbye ceremony. A goodbye to the old me who loved her so much I stooped to nothing. I rented a 1-bedroom apartment close to my office. It wasn't big, but it got plenty of sunlight every morning, warm and bright. I built a steady daily routine, cooking my own meals, running, reading, focusing fully on work. This simple life was plain as plain water, yet it gave me a sense of peace I'd never felt before. Sean worried I'd sink into depression, so he dragged me out drinking every few days. Jason, tell me the truth, are you really not hurt at all? He swirled his whiskey glass in the dim bar, eyes full of worry. I laughed and drank my glass of whiskey in one gulp. Hurt over what? Hurt she cheated on me, or hurt I wasted years on someone blind? Both, I guess. Sean sighed. 6 whole years, not 6 days. Even a dog you raise would grow attached to you. Yeah, 6 years. How many 6-year stretches do you get in one lifetime? I handed her all my youth, passion, and trust without holding back a single thing. I built a safe, warm home for her, and she turned around and lit it on fire, burning everything to ash. It'd be a lie to say I felt no pain. Late at night, old sweet memories still crashed over me like tidal waves. I remembered the first time she tried cooking for me, burning her hand clumsily. I held her tight to put ointment on the burn, and she smiled and said, "It's nothing, it's worth it if it's for you." I remembered our first trip together. She leaned her head on my shoulder by the lake and whispered, Jason, let's stay like this together forever, okay? Every sweet memory from back then now turned into poison blades slicing my heart open again and again. But I knew I couldn't wallow in the past. Drowning yourself in old pain is the worst thing you can do to your own future. Don't worry about me. I patted Sean's shoulder. I'm not that fragile. Some people just aren't worth crying over. Sean looked at my calm expression and finally relaxed. I'm glad you moved on, he said. So what's your plan next? Are you just gonna let those two cheaters get away scot-free? A meaningful cold smile tugged my lips. Let them get away. No way. I pulled a document out of my pocket and slid it across the table to him. What's this? Sean frowned and opened the file. One glance made his eyes blow wide open. Holy hell, when did you get all this? It was a full, detailed asset evaluation report. The subject was Zoe's PR firm, the one she claimed had gone bankrupt. The report proved the company was far from broke. Its profits had more than tripled over the past 6 months. Worse yet, the firm's biggest client contract was signed with Howard's multinational corporation. This was a long-planned shell game scam. Zoe used my money and resources to grow her business into a success. Then she colluded with Howard to quietly shift all core business and profits into empty shell companies controlled by Howard via connected transactions. After that, she faked bankruptcy to dump me as her burden, claiming all shared marital assets as her own single property. Perfect trap to cut me out completely. If I'd still been the fool who trusted every word she said, I would have walked away with 0 assets, even carrying guilt over her bankruptcy. Too bad she miscalculated one critical detail. Even a cornered rabbit will bite back, let alone a man pushed to the edge of despair. Jason, you're brilliant. Sean stared at me in awe. How did you dig up all this proof? I've got my methods, I said casually. I didn't tell him when I upgraded the digital systems for her company. I left a master admin backdoor out of my programmer professional habit. That backdoor let me access every single financial record and operation log in the company backend anytime I wanted. Zoe thought she covered every track flawlessly, but every asset transfer and fake ledger sat plain right in front of my eyes. I watched her perform her fake sad act like a clown, never calling her bluff. I was waiting for the perfect moment. A moment where she'd climb as high as possible, so her fall would be devastating. So what's your move? File a lawsuit against her for hiding marital assets? Sean asked. I shook my head. That's way too easy on her. I don't care about getting my money back. My gaze turned deep and icy cold. I want her to feel exactly what it's like to fall straight from the top of the world into hell. I want her to watch every single thing she cares about vanish little by little, right in front of her eyes. A chill ran down Sean's spine as he stared at me. He'd never seen this side of me before. The gentle, easygoing Jason he'd known for years had turned into a cold, calculating avenger overnight. He didn't know once a man's softness and love get completely drained away, all that's left is unshakable logic and icy planning. I waited patiently, like a hunter hiding in the shadows watching his prey. Zoe and Howard lived the ultimate high life. Less than a week after the divorce, Zoe posted their relationship official on social media. The photo showed them snuggled tight on a yacht at sunset by the ocean. Her caption sounded heartfelt. Thank you for walking into my life when I hit rock bottom, guiding me out of darkness to a new start. The rest of my life's journey, I'm yours. At Howard. The comment section flooded with well wishes. Congrats, Zoe. You finally found real happiness. You two look perfect together, match made in heaven. He's way better than your ex, good call leaving him. I scanned that hurtful comment with a blank face and scrolled past. All our old mutual friends now cheered her on. Human nature's always been like this, people flock to success and avoid losers. In their eyes, I was the loser dumped by my bankrupt ex-wife. Zoe and Howard were the winning power couple. They ramped up their flashy public displays fast. They threw huge parties at their brand new luxury villa, flew overseas to rent out private islands for vacations. Howard filled Zoe's walk-in closet with Hermes handbags. Zoe gifted him a brand new Vacheron Constantin watch in return. They packaged themselves as elite business partners and a perfect romantic pair, showing up at every high-end gala. They even sat for an interview with a finance magazine. During the interview, Zoe cried talking about her failed startup, and how her lover Howard pulled her out of despair to rebuild her career. She painted herself as a tough, independent yet gentle modern woman. I got framed as the cruel ex-husband who abandoned her when she hit hard times. She never named me directly, but every line dripped with subtle insults and hints targeting me. Overnight, I became the laughingstock of our entire social circle. Coworkers whispered behind my back at the office too. Did you hear? Lead engineer Jason got dumped by his wife. His ex is living the high life now with VP Howard from Global Group. Word is their company's about to go public. Man, what bad luck. Just being good at coding doesn't cut it, you gotta be romantic too. All those gossipy whispers buzzed around me like flies, but I didn't care one bit. The higher they climbed, the harder their crash would be. I poured all my energy into work. ILED, an artificial intelligence project that hit major breakthroughs, bringing massive commercial profit to the company. My boss praised me non-stop, promoted me straight to Chief Technology Officer, and handed me company stock options. My career hit a brand new peak right when my personal life hit rock bottom. They say misfortune brings hidden good fortune, I guess that's what they mean. One afternoon, I was reviewing project reports in my office when Sean's call popped up on my phone. His voice buzzed with giddy, vindictive excitement. Jason, check the financial news right now, something huge just broke. I pulled up the finance news website immediately, and a bold headline jumped straight out at me. Global Group suspected mass financial fraud, VP Howard Joe taken into police custody. A slow-cold smile spread across my face as I read the words. My prey had finally walked right into my trap. Everything went exactly per my plan. I anonymously sent all proof of Zoe and Howard's illegal asset transfers and fake connected transactions, straight to the Securities Regulatory Commission. On top of that, I used my coding skills to hack into Howard's corporate internal server. I found Howard was far greedier and more reckless than I'd ever imagined. He didn't just help Zoe steal marital assets. He embezzled corporate funds, forged financial statements, manipulated stock prices for personal gain. Every single crime he committed carried a long prison sentence. I sent all this evidence out in batches, at timed intervals, to different media outlets and regulatory authorities. I waited until they hit their peak of pride and wealth to strike the fatal blow. This news exploded like a bomb across the entire finance industry. Global Group's stock crashed instantly, losing billions of market value in a single day. Everyone was stunned to hear Howard had been arrested. The elite business genius Grayson magazine covers days prior was now a criminal behind bars. This real-life drama beat any TV show plot by a mile. And Zoe, as Howard's closest business partner and romantic partner, couldn't escape the fallout either. I could almost picture her face right now. Panicked, pale, utterly devastated. The golden ticket she relied on for her whole future had crumbled to dust right in front of her. And I'd been the one to knock it all down. My phone suddenly rang. The caller ID showed an unknown number. I picked up without speaking a word. A voice I knew all too well, yet barely recognized through fear and shaking, came through the line. It was Zoe. Jason. It was you, wasn't it? Her tone mixed accusation and certain confirmation. You did all this, didn't you? I let out a quiet cold laugh, sharp enough to cut through her ears. Ms. Sue, I have no idea what you're talking about. I deliberately used that distant formal title for her. That single phrase broke her composure completely. Don't play dumb. She screamed hysterically over the phone. No one else would scheme this hard to destroy us except you. Howard's whole career's ruined. What do you gain from this? Can't you stand to see me happy? I held the phone a little distance away from my ear and waited for her screaming fit to die down before speaking slowly and calmly. Can't stand to see you happy. Zoe, ask yourself honestly, where did your so-called happiness even come from? Was it when you took my money to buy Howard his Maserati? Or the night my mom was dying in the hospital, and you partied all night at a private club with him? Or when you lied about bankruptcy to trick me into divorce, stealing all 6 years of our shared marital assets to claim as your own? Every sentence I said made her breathing grow faster and shakier. By the end, she broke down into messy sobs. I didn't mean it. I had my reasons. She tried useless excuses. Reasons? I scoffed coldly. Your reasons were just betrayal and endless lies. Zoe, drop the act. I'm tired of watching your fake performances. I hold complete, full proof of every single thing you've done. You choose hand all this over to the police, or forward it to the tax bureau. Dead silence fell on the other end of the line. I could clearly hear her sharp gasp of terror. Fear wrapped tight around her heart like twisting vines. She finally realized I wasn't just bluffing to scare her. The quiet nice guy ex-husband she looked down on held the ace card that could destroy her life entirely. No, don't. She started begging at last. Jason, think about our years of marriage together. Please let me off this once. Years of marriage together. I laughed like she told the funniest joke alive. Do you even deserve to say those words? The second you chose another man over my mom's emergency surgery, all our shared feelings were gone forever. And this is only the start for you. Enjoy every second of what's coming next. I hung up the phone without another word. The sunlight outside my window was bright, yet no feeling compared to the pure satisfaction I felt in that moment. I didn't send all the remaining evidence out right away. Playing cat and mouse is far more fun when you drag the game out slow. I wanted her to waste away all her strength and hope in endless fear and despair. Chapter 3. The chain reaction from Howard's collapse hit faster and harder than I expected. All his hidden illegal schemes got dragged out into the open, dragging dozens of connected people down with him. Zoe's PR firm, a core piece of the illegal transactions, became a top target for official investigations. Tax agents, business regulators, financial crime detectives showed up one after another to audit the company. All corporate accounts got frozen, every business project suspended indefinitely. Partners who'd once lined up to work with her cut all ties immediately, terrified of being dragged into the scandal. When a wall crumbles, everyone shoves it down. When a tree falls, all the monkeys scatter. The once revered MS, Sue turned into a toxic person everyone avoided touching overnight. She begged non-stop, calling every contact she knew, asking for favors, yet every door slammed shut in her face. Her brand new luxury villa got seized by the court, official seal stickers plastered all over the doors. She'd fallen from the highest clouds straight into muddy dirt in just half a month. I didn't know exactly what her daily life looked like during those 2 weeks. But I could guess it was nothing short of miserable. One afternoon, I sat in a company meeting when the front desk called my office line. Someone's here to see you, sir. Who is it? I asked. Her name's Zoe Sue. I raised an eyebrow, a faint cold smirk tugging my lips. She'd finally come to track me down. Tell her to wait for me at the lobby cafe downstairs. I finished the meeting at a slow, unrushed pace, sorted through several urgent work emails, then took my time walking down the stairs. Zoe sat alone in the cafe's far corner booth. Hardly 2 weeks had passed, yet she looked like a completely different woman. Her usual flawless makeup was gone, replaced by a pale, exhausted face. Her designer Chanel suit was crumpled and wrinkled, losing all its former shine. A gray, defeated aura clung to her whole body, like a flower withering away fast. When she spotted me walking over, she shot straight to her feet, a tiny flicker of desperate hope lighting her eyes. Jason. I pulled out the opposite chair and sat down, ordering an Americano from the server. What do you want? I didn't even bother glancing at her, my tone cold as talking to a total stranger. Her face froze, the light of hope in her eyes fading instantly. Jason, can we talk? She lowered her stance completely, clear begging in her voice. We have nothing left to discuss. I picked up my newly delivered coffee and blew on the hot surface. No, we do. She rushed to speak. I know I messed up. I truly regret everything. Pull all your evidence back, please. I'll do absolutely anything you ask if you spare me. Anything I ask. I smiled like she'd said something ridiculous and lifted my gaze to meet hers. Including paying back every single cent you stole from me. She froze silent. The 420,000 you transferred from our joint account, all the fake ledgers you made at the company, all the luxury gifts you bought hard with my money. Will you pay every penny back? Every item I listed drained more color from her face. By the end, her lips trembled, unable to utter a single word. You can't do it, right? I scoffed. Your so-called regret's just a temporary trick because you're cornered with nowhere to run. Zoe, you haven't changed one bit, you're still selfish to your core. My words stabbed her heart one after another, sharp as razor blades. Her eyes welled up, tears spilling down again. Jason, how can you talk to me like this? We were husband and wife once. Shut up. I cut her off sharply. Don't you dare utter those words. You don't deserve them. My voice stayed quiet, yet carried unshakable authority. Every other customer in the cafe turned their heads to stare at our table. Zoe flinched hard from my outburst, holding back her tears instantly. She'd never seen me this furious and harsh before. In her memory, I was always soft, forgiving, even a little weak as a husband. She could take whatever she wanted from me and hurt me freely, knowing I'd only endure it silently. Too bad she forgot even the gentlest sheep will turn into a vicious wolf when pushed too far. Staring at her deathly pale face, I suddenly lost all interest in this conversation. The woman I'd once loved deeply had turned into this broken mess, yet I felt no joy, only absurdity and pity. Jason. She recovered her voice after a long pause, thick with total despair. What exactly do I have to do for you to let me go? I leaned back against my chair and watched her quietly. I can let you off the hook. Her eyes lit up instantly. I only have one condition. I said flatly. Anything. Name it, I'll do whatever it takes. She clung to this last straw of hope. I locked eyes with her, speaking each word slow and crystal clear. Go to my mom's hospital room. Kneel down, bow your head, and apologize to her. Every drop of color drained from Zoe's face in an instant. She stared at me in shock, like she didn't recognize who I was anymore. What did you just say? I said, I stressed every syllable, apologize to my mom on your knees. For the day you said she wasn't gonna die when she had a cerebral hemorrhage, for partying all night with her while she fought for her life. For your disloyalty and cruel coldness. Kneel and beg for her forgiveness. If you do that, I might consider leaving you a way out. I stood up after finishing my sentence, pulled a few bills out of my wallet and set them under the coffee mug to cover the drink. I've said all I need to. Think it over carefully. I turned and walked away without glancing back at her even once. I knew this demand would hurt her pride worse than death for a vain woman like Zoe. Forcing her to kneel publicly would crush the last scrap of dignity she held onto. But that was exactly what I needed. Physical punishment never hits as hard as mental torture. She needed to pay the heaviest price for her cold cruelty. I thought Zoe would stall and struggle for at least a few days, but she showed up at the hospital the very next day. Sean texted to tell me, "Jason, that woman actually went. She's kneeling right outside your mom's ward door right now." Excitement filled his voice, ready to watch the drama unfold. I was editing technical documents at work when I heard the news, my fingers pausing over the keyboard for a split second. "What did my mom say?" I asked. "Your mom wouldn't let her inside, just made her kneel out there." The whole hospital floors crowded with people staring. I could picture the scene perfectly. The once glamorous MS, soon out like a guilty criminal in the busy hospital hallway, every passerby whispering and judging her. This was public humiliation, plain and simple. Got it, I'll head over later. I hung up and got back to my work. I didn't rush to the hospital. It wasn't that I felt soft-hearted, it just wasn't necessary. I wasn't the main character of this scene, she was. She needed to finish this punishment, this fake redemption, all by herself for everything she'd done wrong. That evening, I finished all my work and grabbed a thermal food container to bring dinner to my mom. As soon as I stepped off the elevator, a crowd circled the end of the hallway. Zoe was still kneeling there. Her head hung low, hair messy and tangled, her thin frame looking fragile and pitiful. Candy wrappers and fruit peels littered the ground around her, trash left by onlookers. Nurses had come over multiple times to ask her to leave so they could keep the hospital orderly, but she refused to move an inch, frozen like a soulless statue. I walked forward, and the crowd automatically stepped aside to make a path for me. Every pair of eyes locked onto me, full of curiosity and gossip. Zoe heard my footsteps and slowly lifted her head. When she saw it was me, her cracked dry lips twitched. Mixed emotions flickered in her eyes, shame, resentment, a tiny hidden plea. I ignored her completely and pushed open my mom's ward door. My mom sat propped up on the hospital bed watching TV, her complexion much better than days prior. She shut the TV off the second I walked in. "Junmin, you're here. Mom, time for dinner." I set the thermal container on the bedside table. "That girl outside." My mom hesitated a second before speaking up. "Let her kneel." I filled a bowl of soup and handed it to her. "Don't pay her any mind." My mom sighed and didn't push the subject further. We ate our dinner quietly, neither of us mentioning the woman kneeling outside the door again. But I knew my mom felt conflicted deep down. She was a kind-hearted person. Even after Zoe broke her heart completely, seeing her former daughter-in-law fall this low made her feel a twinge of pity. Once we finished eating, I packed up the empty containers to leave. Right before I reached the door, my mom called out to me. "Junmin, show a little mercy where you can." I turned to look at her, her face worn and full of sympathy. "She's knelt out there for a full day. She's already learned her lesson." My mom said softly. "Making such a big public scene will ruin your reputation too." I fell silent. My mom was right. I'd already gotten everything I wanted out of this. Dragging it on longer would only make everything uglier and put my mom in an awkward spot. I stepped back out into the hallway. Zoe still knelt there. A damp dark patch stained the tile under her knees, a mix of sweat and tears. I stood over her, looking down from above. "Stand up." My voice held zero warmth. She slowly lifted her head, her gaze empty and hollow as she stared up at me. "My mom told me to let you off." I pulled a USB drive out of my pocket and tossed it onto the floor right in front of her knees. "This holds all the original backup copies of your asset transfer evidence. Take it, then vanish completely from my life forever. We owe each other nothing from this day forward." This USB drive contained every original file proving her and Howard's illegal asset theft. If she destroyed this drive and fixed the mess at her company, she'd lose most of her wealth but avoid total ruin. This was the last mercy I'd ever offer her. A sloppy full stop to our 6 years of lost love. Zoe stared at the USB on the floor, her whole body shaking violently. She stretched her hand out to grab it, but her legs had gone numb from kneeling so long. She lost balance and crashed forward flat onto the ground, utterly humiliated. She scrambled on the cold tile floor and finally clutched that tiny USB tight in her palm, like it held her entire future. Then she collapsed on the hard hospital floor and broke down into loud, racking sobs. Her tears held regret, grievance, resentment, and overwhelming relief at escaping total destruction. I didn't spare her another glance and walked away with long, steady strides. The hospital hallway lights stretched my shadow far behind me. When I stepped out of the hospital main doors, I took a deep breath of the cold night air. It was all over, at last. I thought my story with Zoe had finally reached its ending. Our lives would split into two separate lines that crossed once then drifted apart, never intersecting again. I never imagined fate's script would be far more dramatic and ironic than I could ever imagine. 1 month later, Sean called me. His voice sounded strange, hesitant to get the words out. Jason, it's Zoe. Something bad happened to her. What's wrong? My heart skipped a beat for no clear reason. Even after all our broken ties, a tiny flicker of emotion stirred at hearing her name. I don't know all the details, a nurse classmate of mine told me. Sean lowered his voice. She said she saw Zoe come into their hospital for a checkup with a guy half a month back. A guy? I frowned. Yeah, it's Howard, the same one. Sean explained. I grew even more confused. Howard was supposed to be locked up in custody. How was he walking free? I asked around later. Howard's family paid a huge sum for top-tier lawyers to get him released on bail pending trial. Sean said. His court hearings next month, he's looking at 10 years minimum behind bars. What medical checkup were they there for? I cut straight to the key point. My classmate didn't get all the details, only said they went to the oncology ward. Oncology ward. My heart sank sharply. Then what happened next? I pressed him for more. Later. Sean's tone turned far heavier. My classmate accidentally saw Zoe's test report today. It looks, her condition's really serious.